Behind the joy of Four Tops, the lives of the men who created that sound were marked by struggle, loss, and moments of quiet heartbreak few fans ever knew about. Formed in 1953, the group rose to define Motown's golden era. Yet time slowly took its toll on the very voices that made them legendary. So what really happened to Levi Stubbs, Abdul Fakir, Ronaldo Obi Benson, and Lawrence Payton? And where does their story stand now in 2026? This is a look beyond the hits, into the triumphs and tragedies that shaped one of music's greatest groups. The origins of a magical bond. Long before they became Motown royalty, the Four Tops were just four Detroit teenagers balancing school books and street life. They later described themselves as nice nasty, serious students, but shaped by the neighborhoods they grew up in. Music wasn't a strategy back then. It was instinct, something they felt more than planned. The story began in high school. Levi Stubbs and Abdul Duke Fakir attended Pershing High, while Ronaldo Obi Benson and Lawrence Payton were students at Northern High. They came together almost by chance, first singing at a local birthday party. Friends noticed the chemistry immediately and urged them to take it seriously. When they decided to form a group, they called themselves the Four Aims. From the very first rehearsal, they sensed something different, an unexplainable connection that felt bigger than any one of them. Their early momentum got a boost from Lawrence Payton's cousin, songwriter Rokel Billy Davis. With his help, they landed a deal with Chess Records. Not long after, they changed their name to the Four Tops, avoiding confusion with the already famous Ames brothers. It felt like a fresh start, but success didn't come quickly. For the next 7 years, the Four Tops lived in limbo. They bounced from label to label, Chess, Red Top, Riverside, even Columbia Records, releasing song after song that failed to chart. There were no hits, no breakthroughs, just endless travel, small gigs, and long nights on the road. Many groups would have broken apart under that kind of pressure. They didn't. Instead, they doubled down. They rehearsed constantly, sharpened their harmonies, and learned how to command a stage. Each setback made them tighter, stronger, more disciplined. What amazed them most wasn't the struggle. It was how powerful they sounded every time they sang together. Even without success, they knew one thing for certain. Whatever they had, it only worked when all four of them stood side by side. The Motown Golden Era. That long stretch of uncertainty finally began to lift when Berry Gordy Jr. took a serious interest in the group. Gordy, who had previously worked with songwriter Rokel Billy Davis in the late 1950s, believed the Four Tops had something rare: discipline, chemistry, and a sound that could last. He persuaded them to sign with Motown Records, a move that would change their lives. At first, their path at Motown was cautious. The Four Tops recorded jazz material for the label's Workshop Jazz imprint and worked behind the scenes as background vocalists for other Motown stars, including the Supremes and Martha and the Vandellas. It wasn't glamorous, but it placed them inside the Motown machine, where timing and opportunity mattered more than instant attention. That opportunity arrived in 1964, when Motown's powerhouse songwriting and production team, Holland Dozier Holland, repurposed an unused instrumental track into a full song for the group. The result was Baby I Need Your Loving. When it was released, the song climbed to number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100, finally giving the Four Tops their first major pop hit and signaling that their long wait might finally be over. Momentum followed quickly. In 1965, Ask the Lonely became a top 30 pop hit and a top 10 R&B success. But the real breakthrough came later that year with I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. The song shot straight to number 1 and transformed the Four Tops from a promising Motown act into full-fledged stars. From that point on, hits came in steady succession. It's the same old song, Something About You, and Shake Me, Wake Me, When It's Over, all reinforced their place at the top of the charts. Much of their impact came from the unmistakable voice of Levi Stubbs. Singing in an urgent, emotional high tenor, Stubbs brought intensity and drama to every line. His voice set the Four Tops apart from other vocal groups of the era. That sound was often complemented by background vocals from the Andantes, whose harmonies softened and balanced the group's powerful delivery. In 1966, the Four Tops reached a new peak with Reach Out, I'll Be There. The song became a #1 hit in both the United States and the United Kingdom and quickly emerged as their signature recording. It was followed closely by Standing in the Shadows of Love, another emotionally charged hit that explored heartbreak and desperation. By 1967, they continued their run with Bernadette, a song that examined obsessive love, along with 7 Rooms of Gloom and You Keep Running Away. By now, the Four Tops were no longer just an American success. They were international stars, especially popular in the UK. Confident in their reach, they began experimenting beyond soul, recording pop covers such as Tim Harden's If I Were a Carpenter in 1967 and Walk Away Renee in 1968. A Motown rivalry that never ends. Few Motown stories are complete without mentioning the quiet rivalry between the Four Tops and the Temptations. Back in Motown's golden era, both groups were label mates, hitmakers, and relentless competitors, each chasing the same goal, to be the best. That friendly but fierce competition resurfaced years later during a special engagement at the Palace Theater on Broadway, where the two legendary acts shared the stage for a full week. The shows opened with light-hearted teasing, a nod to decades of shared history. The Four Tops performed first. By this time, only one original member remained, Abdul Duke Fakir. The newer members, including Lawrence Payton Jr. and Harold Bonhart, gave everything they had, but the absence of the group's iconic voice, Levi Stubbs, was impossible to ignore. Rather than leaning fully into their greatest hits, the group experimented, performing standards like Mac the Knife and rotating solo moments. When I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch finally arrived, the audience sang along enthusiastically, their energy carrying the song as much as the performers did. Then it was the Temptations' turn, and the contrast was immediate. Like the Four Tops, they were down to one original member, Otis Williams, but their lineup clicked with remarkable precision. Vocalists like Bruce Williamson and Ron Tyson brought back echoes of the group's past, channeling the spirit of legends such as David Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks without imitation. Their set moved fast and hit hard. Get Ready, Just My Imagination, Running Away With Me, and the darker, funk-driven Papa Was a Rolling Stone followed one another with barely a pause. The Temptations' greatest strength, reinvention, was on full display. They even slipped in a holiday moment with Silent Night before closing with their most enduring anthem, My Girl, bringing the crowd to its feet. By the end of the night, the verdict felt clear. In this chapter of the rivalry, the Temptations delivered sharper showmanship, stronger momentum, and a set packed with undeniable classics. Still, the real victory belonged to the audience. Watching both groups on the same stage was a reminder of Motown's magic, proof that whether through rivalry or reunion, these songs remain unforgettable. Hits, changes, and comebacks. After years of chart-topping success, the Four Tops entered a far more uncertain chapter when Holland Dozier Holland left Motown Records following bitter disputes with Berry Gordy Jr. Their departure changed everything. Without the team that had crafted many of their biggest hits, the Four Tops suddenly found themselves searching for direction. They worked with a range of respected producers, including Ivy Jo Hunter, Ashford and Simpson, Norman Whitfield, and Johnny Bristol. But the effortless dominance they once enjoyed on the charts proved difficult to recapture. In 1970, momentum finally returned. The song It's All in the Game, produced by Frank Wilson, became a top 30 pop hit and reached the top 10 on the R&B chart. It signaled a willingness to evolve. That same year, the album Still Waters Run Deep marked a stylistic shift, one that would later be cited as an influence on Marvin Gaye's landmark 1971 album, What's Going On. The Four Tops were no longer chasing their past, they were quietly reshaping it. Around this time, they also collaborated with the Supremes on joint albums such as The Magnificent Seven and Dynamite. While the albums themselves didn't dominate the charts, their cover of Ike and Tina Turner's River Deep, Mountain High became a notable hit. In 1971, A Simple Game, a cover of The Moody Blues song, found strong success in the UK even as it struggled in the United States, proof that the group's appeal remained global. By the early 1970s, Motown itself was changing. The label shifted its focus to younger stars like Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, while veteran acts were slowly pushed aside. The company's move from Detroit to Los Angeles only deepened the divide. Like many of Motown's original artists, the Four Tops chose to leave. Their next chapter began at ABC Dunhill, where they teamed up with producers Dennis Lambert and Brian Potter. The move paid off quickly. In 1972, Keeper of the Castle brought them back into the pop top 10, followed by another major hit, Ain't No Woman Like the One I've Got. Over the next few years, songs like Are You Man Enough and Sweet Understanding Love kept them relevant and visible. By 1976, however, chart success began to slow once more. After leaving ABC, they recorded an album with Philadelphia musicians, but it failed to gain traction. Then, in 1981, the Four Tops surprised everyone again. Signing with Casablanca Records, they scored a major comeback with When She Was My Girl, which reached number 1 on the R&B chart. They also enjoyed UK success with Don't Walk Away and even appeared on the big screen in Grease 2, performing Back to School again. Eventually, the Four Tops returned to Motown, reuniting with the label that had defined their legacy. They took part in the landmark TV special Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever, and toured once more with the Temptations. Their album Back Where I Belong found modest success, particularly with the single I Just Can't Walk Away. Through the late 1980s and beyond, the group never stopped performing. They toured relentlessly, appeared on recordings by artists such as Aretha Franklin and Grover Washington Jr., and released one final studio project, a Christmas album, Christmas Here With You, in 1995. What kept them going wasn't chart positions or trends. It was the bond between four men who had grown up together, survived the industry together, and refused to let time erase what they had built. The Four Tops members who have sadly died. Behind the polished harmonies and timeless hits, life inside the Four Tops was far more complicated than it appeared on stage. The four men often said they were in love with one another, not romantically, but in a deep, masculine bond forged through decades of shared struggle. They were husbands, fathers, and working men, trying to balance family life with constant touring. That bond kept them together, but it could not shield them from illness, loss, and the slow erosion that time brings. Abdul Duke Fakir. Born on December 26, 1935 in Detroit, Michigan, Abdul Duke Fakir was the smooth tenor voice of the Four Tops, and for many years the last surviving original member. While the others gradually passed on, Fakir carried the group's name and spirit forward for more than 6 decades, continuing to tour with newer members and refusing to let the legacy fade. Offstage, he was deeply committed to music education and often spoke out in support of young artists and musicians' rights. His devotion ensured that the Four Tops remained a living, breathing presence long after their golden era. Duke Fakir passed away on July 22, 2024, at the age of 88. Levi Stubbs. Levi Stubbs, born June 6, 1936 in Detroit, was the unmistakable voice of the Four Tops. As lead vocalist, his urgent, emotional delivery powered classics like Reach Out, I'll Be There, Bernadette and I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. Raised in gospel music, Stubbs brought church-bred intensity into soul and pop, turning heartbreak into something almost theatrical. Beyond music, he also became a respected actor, most famously voicing Audrey II in Little Shop of Horrors. A stroke in 2000 ended his performing career, and he spent his remaining years in Detroit with family. Stubbs died on October 17, 2008, at the age of 72. Lawrence Payton. Born March 2, 1938, Lawrence Payton was the baritone and quiet genius behind the Four Tops' signature sound. While Stubbs commanded attention at center stage, Payton built the group's complex harmonies, shaping the musical structure that made their records instantly recognizable. He was also a gifted songwriter, contributing to hits such as It's the Same Old Song and Still Water, Love. Payton had been part of the group since its earliest days, helping guide it from doo-wop beginnings into Motown immortality. He died from liver cancer on June 20, 1997, at just 59 years old. Ronaldo Benson. Ronaldo Benson, born June 14, 1936, provided the deep bass foundation of the Four Tops, but his influence extended far beyond harmony. Benson was also a visionary songwriter, best known for co-writing What's Going On with Marvin Gaye, a song inspired by Benson witnessing violent clashes between police and protesters. Though the Four Tops declined to record it, the song went on to become one of the most important statements in popular music history. Benson continued performing with the group until his health declined. He passed away from lung cancer on July 1, 2005, at the age of 69. Theo Peoples. Born on December 25, 1961, Theo Peoples joined the Four Tops in 1998, following Lawrence Payton's death. He brought a rare distinction with him, having previously served as a lead vocalist for The Temptations. His smooth yet powerful range helped stabilize the group during a difficult transitional period, and he played a key role in keeping their live performances strong into the new millennium. Peoples remained with the Four Tops until 2011 before pursuing solo work. He died on April 2, 2019, at the age of 57. Hospital mistreatment, the Alexander Morris incident. What should have been a quiet family holiday turned into a traumatic ordeal that Alexander Morris says he will never forget. During Easter weekend, Morris, who has served as a lead singer for Four Tops since 2019, suddenly fell ill while spending time with his wife and daughters. Experiencing chest pain and difficulty breathing, he did what anyone would do. He called emergency services and asked for help. In April 2023, Morris was taken to Ascension Macomb Oakland Hospital, expecting urgent medical care. Instead, he says, he was left lying in a hallway for nearly 3 hours. He repeatedly asked for oxygen. He asked for a blanket because he was cold. According to Morris, his pleas were ignored while his condition worsened. When hospital staff asked about his employment, Morris explained who he was, that he was one of the singers of the Four Tops, a group founded in the 1950s and inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990. He believed this would help establish his identity and seriousness. Instead, it triggered suspicion. Staff allegedly assumed he was delusional. Rather than providing treatment, they restrained him and ordered a psychiatric evaluation. Morris later recalled being told to hand over his cell phone. When he refused, saying he had never been forced to surrender his phone during previous hospital visits, the situation escalated. He says he was stripped of his clothing and treated as if he were dangerous. At one point, he asked a police officer if he could show proof of who he was. The response, he claims, was blunt and dismissive. Nothing he had would be looked at. Eventually, a nurse recognized Morris and confirmed his identity. The psychological evaluation was canceled, but by then, the damage was done. Morris described the experience as humiliating and dehumanizing, especially because it happened in his hometown of Detroit. Instead of feeling cared for, he said he was made to feel insane, as if he were being labeled schizophrenic, simply for stating who he was. The hospital later offered Morris a $25 gift card as an apology. He refused it, saying it trivialized what he had endured. He subsequently filed a lawsuit alleging racial discrimination and other wrongdoing, arguing that he was treated the way he was because he is black and claimed association with a famous group. According to the lawsuit, his medical emergency was dismissed in favor of assumptions rooted in bias. Ascension Macomb Oakland Hospital responded by stating that it is committed to treating all patients with dignity and respect, and does not tolerate racial discrimination, but declined to comment further due to the ongoing legal case. For Morris, the incident cut deeply. It wasn't just about being mistreated. It was about being disbelieved, restrained, and stripped of dignity at a moment when he was most vulnerable. Duke Fakir speaks out about royalties. The passing of Abdul Duke Fakir in 2024 at the age of 88 marked the end of an era. With his death, the world lost the final original member of Four Tops, a group whose harmonies helped define American soul music for generations. But in his final years, Duke Fakir was not only reflecting on the past, he was fighting for the future of artists who, like him, helped build the industry but were too often forgotten by it. Long after the spotlight had faded, Duke became one of the most outspoken advocates for older musicians who were being denied fair compensation. In interviews, he spoke plainly and passionately about what he saw as a systemic injustice. Artists who recorded music before 1972 were not being paid when their songs were played on digital radio platforms such as Sirius XM and iHeartRadio. These companies generate billions of dollars annually, yet, due to a loophole in U.S. copyright law, they are not required to pay royalties for recordings made before that cutoff year. To Duke, the situation felt personal and deeply wrong. He called it a digital ripoff, explaining that corporations were profiting from music created decades ago while the people who made that music struggled to survive. Many of those artists, he noted, were elderly or in poor health. Touring was no longer an option. For them, royalty checks were not about luxury. They were about paying rent, buying groceries, or affording medical care. "They're still playing our records," he said, "but we're not seeing a dime. We're not seeing a..." Duke made it clear that the problem wasn't a lack of appreciation from fans. The music of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s is still streamed, celebrated, and sampled. The issue lay in the law itself. Federal copyright protections apply to recordings made after 1972, leaving earlier works in a gray area that allows digital broadcasters to avoid paying performers. Duke believed this loophole represented a moral failure as much as a legal one. "The people who made this music deserve to be paid," he insisted. Despite his age, Duke did not give up hope. He spoke optimistically about the proposed Classics Act, legislation that would require digital radio companies to pay royalties on all sound recordings, regardless of when they were made. He believed the bill could transform the lives of countless older artists who had been overlooked for decades. To him, it wasn't about rewriting history. It was about correcting it. "This could change lives," he said. "It's about fairness." What mattered most to Duke was that the fight extended beyond his own generation. He believed the principle was timeless. An artist deserves to be paid for their work, whether the song was recorded in 1962 or 2022. He understood the struggle would be long and difficult, but he refused to stay silent. Even in his final years, he made it clear that his voice, like his music, was not finished. "I'll keep singing, and I'll keep fighting," Duke once said, "because we can't give up on fairness." A legacy that lives on through music. By 2008, Abdul Duke Fakir stood alone. One by one, the other original members of the Four Tops had passed away, leaving him as the final guardian of a sound that had shaped generations. Rather than stepping away, Fakir embraced the responsibility. He dedicated himself to keeping the group's music alive, touring relentlessly and honoring his fallen bandmates. Retirement was never part of the plan. He continued performing until just weeks before his death. Fakir spent most of his life rooted in Detroit, the city that shaped both his character and his music. He shared his life there with his wife, Piper Gibson, to whom he was married for 50 years. Together they built a large family, 7 children, 13 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren, though one child tragically passed before him. Fakir often credited Detroit's rich musical culture, its churches, gospel choirs, and deep jazz traditions, for steering him toward a life in music. As a boy, he sang in church with his cousins, unknowingly laying the foundation for a legendary career. That journey began in the early 1950s. Fakir and his close friends, including Ronaldo Obi Benson, originally planned to attend college. But in 1954, a professional booking changed everything. Faced with a real chance to perform and earn a living through music, they chose to follow their instincts. That decision, to chase harmony instead of higher education, set them on the path to becoming the Four Tops. Life spared Fakir more than once. One of the most chilling moments came in 1988, after the group finished a European tour. They were booked on Pan Am Flight 103, the flight that would later be destroyed by a terrorist bombing over Scotland. By sheer circumstance, they missed the flight because they were filming a television appearance. The narrow escape stayed with Fakir as a sobering reminder of how fragile life could be. Throughout his career, Fakir maintained close friendships across the Motown family. He was especially close to Mary Wilson of the Supremes. The two briefly dated in 1964, but as their careers accelerated, they chose to part romantically while remaining lifelong friends. Decades later, in 2013, they shared the stage again at a holiday performance in Chicago, an affectionate reunion between two survivors of Motown's golden age. Even in his later years, Fakir remained active, though life was not without difficulties. In 2023, reports surfaced that the U.S. Treasury Department was seeking unpaid taxes from him, a reminder that fame did not always translate into financial security for artists of his era. Still, he kept moving forward, performing, advocating for musicians' rights, and carrying the Four Tops name with pride. Abdul Duke Fakir passed away on July 22, 2024, at the age of 88 from heart failure. His death marked the end of the original Four Tops, but not the end of their legacy. Over his lifetime, Fakir and the group were honored with inductions into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990, the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1999, and the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2018. Fakir himself received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2009. Each member of the Four Tops brought something irreplaceable to the harmony they created together. Their losses were deeply felt, not just by fans but by the music itself. Yet the songs endure. Through decades of change, hardship, and farewell, the Four Tops remain a symbol of perseverance, brotherhood, and the enduring power of harmony. As the curtain finally closes on the story of the Four Tops, what remains is more than nostalgia. It's a legacy built on brotherhood, sacrifice, and voices that refuse to fade. From the streets of Detroit to the world's biggest stages, their journey was filled with triumph, loss, and resilience that few groups ever endure. Now we want to hear from you. Which Four Tops song means the most to you, and why does it still resonate today? Share your thoughts in the